Hello everyone and welcome to Law Minds. Today we are here to discuss the topic of the Supreme Court acting as a guardian under the Indian Constitution, Article 37. First of all, let's begin with what does Article 37 of the Indian Constitution say. So Indian Constitution's Article 37 is about in the directive principles of a state. Now, what is the role of directive principles? The directive principles are not something which can be enforced directly in the courts of law, but these are the principles which are a kind of guidelines on which the state must act, or it is a type of a manual which state must follow to give rights to its citizens. Now, the Article 37 of the Indian Constitution states that the directive principles of a state are the fundamental in the governance of the country, and the state shall apply them in making laws. Hence, the laws should be made in accordance with the directive principles of the state. Now, moving further, the Supreme Court of India, often referred as the guardian of the Constitution, upholds the position of paramount importance of the democratic framework of the country. As we all know very well, that the Supreme Court is the court of the country, and its decisions are binding to all the lower courts. Any laws can also be reviewed by the Supreme Court if it is not in accordance with the Constitution. Hence, it is vested with the powers and the duty to protect, safeguard, and uphold the Constitution. Any law or action inconsistent with the Constitution can be declared null or void by the Supreme Court. If any laws which are infringing the rights of the people of the or the citizens of the country, or are violating any fundamental rights, then the Supreme Court can declare that to be null or void. Now, Now, upholding the constitutional integrity, the Supreme Court has the final say on the matter. That means that the order delivered by the Supreme Court or the judgment given by the Supreme Court cannot be further challenged in any of the courts. Okay, the decision of the Supreme Court is binding to each and every one, be it any one. Now, what are these functions of the Supreme Court? In the Indian Constitution, various powers and functions are laid down for the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court aims to protect and guard the fundamental rights of the citizens. The following are the functions of the Supreme Court: protection of fundamental rights. The Supreme Court, under Article 32 of the Constitution, has various kinds of rights. All these five rights are the powers of the Supreme Court to issue writs wherein any person's fundamental rights have been violated, they can directly go to the Supreme Court or to any of the high courts under Article 32. Now, in cases where individual's fundamental right has been violated, the person can approach directly to the Supreme Court under Article 32 to seek protection and justice. For instance, if any persons is being detained without any such reason, then the person can approach the Supreme Court under Article 32. Next, dispute resolution. The Supreme Court also acts as an arbiter between the state and the center, between the centers, between the center and the state, a center and two or more states. Okay, in issues, for instance, the issue of boundaries or borders, wherein two parties are in dispute, two states are in disputes. Then, in such cases, Supreme Court has the power to resolve such issues. Okay, in any kind of dispute either between any state or center or amongst the state, or the Supreme Court has the power to resolve the issue. It acts as a mediator or an arbiter in between two parties. Now, the next important function of the Supreme Court is the judicial review. Now, in case of any actions of the government wherein it is infringing the rights of the Indian citizens, the Supreme Court has a right to review those. The Supreme Court review ensures that all the actions are in the verge of this Constitution of India. Wherein the Supreme Court finds any legislation or any act violates the fundamental rights of the citizen, the Supreme Court may take cognizance into such matter, and if needed, term it void or even amend it. Now, as we all know, that Supreme Court's cases which or judgments act as an precedence to the lower courts if the similar kind of matter appears therein. Okay, the lower benches cannot give such order which contradicts to the order of the Supreme Court. All their decisions should be in binding with the Supreme Court's order, not contravening them. Okay, so let's read out. The judgments from the Supreme Court is binding on all the courts and the parties. Once if a matter is decided in the court and similar matter is dealt by the lower courts, then such matter must be taken into consideration before making a decision. And the decision must not ultra the judgment of the Supreme Court. Now, which are such major functions as an guardian? Okay, so it is the most important aspect in the Indian judiciary, as we all know, being it an apex court. Now, let's read out the cases wherein we can understand properly that why do we call Supreme Court as a guardian of the Constitution and the fundamental rights. The Keshwanand Bharti case first. It is one of the most important cases wherein the case was related to the Kerala land reforms and the amendment was 24th and 25th. Now, herein, the bench of 13 judges decided this matter with the majority of 4 is to 6. Uh, um, a very light kind of majority, if we say. The Supreme Court decided that the basic structure of the Constitution can never be changed. The doctrine of basic structure was given in this case of Keshwanand Bharti, wherein the Supreme Court has literally guarded the Constitution's basic structure. Now let's read it out once. It is the most important case of fundamental rights, correct? The matter was concerning the land reforms under 24th and 25th Constitutional Amendment, in which the petitioner had contentions that the Parliament cannot amend the Constitution as per their wish. Okay, wherein the respondent had contentions that being Parliament, the lawmaking authority or the supreme lawmaking authority can amend the Constitution as per the wish. Here in the Supreme Court, with a majority of 7 is to 6, held that the power of the Parliament to amend the Constitution is to the extent of providing citizens their socio-economic rights, as we said, read in the directive principles. So what is the state supposed to do? It has been written in the directive principles, and one of those duties is to provide citizens their social and economic rights. So the basic structure cannot be changed or amended anyhow as per the wish of the Parliament, except for giving citizens their social or economic rights. In this case, the Supreme Court had protected the basic structure as well as the fundamental rights of the citizen. The similar case was again sought in the Minerva Mills versus the Union of India, wherein the 42nd Amendment was being challenged. Herein, again, the court has to weigh the question that can Parliament destroy or damage the structure of the Constitution. Again, the Supreme Court has focused on balancing the power between the Parliament and judiciary and ordered that the Parliament cannot amend the Constitution as per their wish, except for giving rights to the citizens, and even there the basic structure cannot be destroyed or. So herein, these kind of cases, there are multiple more cases wherein the Supreme Court has literally guarded the Indian Constitution and has protected the rights of the citizens. Hence, we can say that Supreme Court acts as a guardian and is actually the guardian of the Indian Constitution and the fundamental rights of the citizens under Article 37. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching To Law Minds, and please do give your comments and reviews in the comment section. Thank you so much. My name is Kruti Brahmbhatt.